Guys, let's cut to the chase. This video might just save your next cross-scan border trip or even your green card. I'm not here for clickbait and I'm definitely not trying to scare you. But if you've got a ticket between the US and China this year, or you're planning travel across the Taiwan Strait anytime in 2026, grab your headphones and listen closely. This is not just about getting through customs smoothly. Dejan about protecting your right to travel freely for the rest of your life. If you're a frequent traveler, you probably notice the border control landscape shifting fast, especially now that we in 2026 it almost like US and Chinese customs agencies coordinated behind the scenes to ramp up inspections. 3 years ago, I got my hands on an internal analysis report through industry contacts. No hearsay here, just data from Detention January final announcement and on that scan ground feedback from Chinese border officers. Report outlines 7risk groups, and right now, these people are flagged in customs big data systems, foot in an airport, and the system alert agents in milliseconds. I know a lot of you are clinging to the "it won't happen to me" mindset. I traveled back and forth a dozen times with no issue, say, but 2026 is a game changer. Just last week, a subscriber messaged me he was flying from Malay to Shanghai with his wife and kids for Spring Festival, and he got stopped before even reaching security. Turns out his green card was gent, risk, and even worse story. A relative of my friend flew 14 小时 from New York to Beijing, only to be detained at immigration and ordered deported. He was stuck, barred from re-entering the US and denied entry to China, with his family panicking at the airport. These are not isolated incidents, they signs of the new normal. Before we dive into the T-Crips, do me a huge favor, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Your support keeps me up late digging into policies and chasing insider info. And if you have friends or family traveling cross-Dian border this year, share this video meatheads. Dian up could save them a world of trouble. Right, let's get to the good stuff. First up, the biggest risk group, people with dual nationality holding 2 passports still playing the gray area game. I know this topic and beaten to death in Chinese communities. My cousin has had a US passport for years, still has his Chinese hukou, and breezes through self-den service channels every time you. That then pre-full 2025小时 sistery in 2026, that gray area is a red zone. The shift is up to stricter policies, tooting game, changing tech. At the end of 2025, major Chinese airports rolled out a massive upgrade to their border control systems. Nationwide biometric matching. Gone are the days of officers comparing passport photos by eye or checking arrival cards. Today, hubs like Beijing Capital, Shanghai Pudong, and Guangzhou Bai Yan use next to Tianjin biometrics that match your data across database in milliseconds. Let me break that down. When you step up to a kiosk or counter, the camera scans your face. Think back when you became a US citizen. UACIs took your fingerprints and hygien's photo. Those biometrics are permanent. Meanwhile, your Chinese ID, driver license, and old passport photos are stored in domestic database. Before 2026, these systems were siloed and algorithms weren't precise enough. Even if you gained 20 pounds, wear glasses, or had minor plastic surgery, AI can link the John Smith on your US passport to Wang Lei from Jinan Shandong in Mingder Samuel Anz with 99% accuracy. Once that alert pops up, red box and all, eat off to the small black room for questioning. I heard a story last month. Mr. Zhang, a Los Angeles resident who'd been a US citizen for 4 years, kept his Chinese hukou for pension and property reasons. He traveled back without issues before, but this Spring Festival, he got caught at Pudong. The officer held up his US passport and asked, "Our system shows you have a valid Chinese ID. What nationality are you using to enter today?" Yet a trap. Say, you're Chinese, but you're using a US passport without a visa. Violation. Or American and China in stance on dual nationality kicks in. Your Chinese citizenship is revoked and your hukou must be cancelled. Mr. Zhang had to sign a hukou cancellation promise on the spot, and his ID was locked. I could take trains, book hotels, or withdraw money. His trip turned into a nightmare. 2026, Guan Tech goes beyond faces. China on using multi-sense voidal recognition. Now, fingerprints, palm prints, even gait. Grinding your fingerprints once work. Gait recognition spots you no matter your shoes or walking speed. My advice, pick a side. If you're a US citizen, cancel your hukou and apply for a Q. 以 your Q 两副的起色. Safe ID might be your last one if you gamble. Next ring, card holders who live long, term in China or commute to keep their green cards. The risk here is mostly from the US side, thanks to a DHS rule that took effect December 26, 2025, Tachi Biometric Entry, then Exit Final Rule, or MEPA. This changed US customs checks forever before. US exit checks were lax, airlines reported passport data, but delays or errors left loopholes. Run card, folks, fake travel dates, stayed just a week or two in the US to pretend residency, then flew back to China to work. No more. Now all non-Gen-U citizens, green card holders, students, tourists must submit facial recognition and biometrics on entry and exit. Even the exemption for kids under Shisin seniors over Chishijoke, eyes mostly gone. This means CBP has a second-gen, BH-gen second record of your travel. Take my friend Lao Li, a classic run card holder. He flew to the US every Wumitons, staged shidays, took photos at supermarkets and hotels to prove residency. This January, he flew from Shanghai to SFA and got stopped. The officer pulled up a heat map of his last Wu years, 14 days in the US, 3-5 in China. Your primary residence is abroad, the officer said. Green cards are for permanent residents, not tourists. How do you prove you intend to live here permanently? Lao Li had no real evidence, no US job, no tax records, just short gen term leases. He was taken to secondary inspection, his phone and bank statement seized. BP confiscated his green card, gave him an 5-9and notice to appear in TA for immigration court. Tanned, San. Years of legal battles, tens of thousands in lawyer fees, and no guarantee he'll keep his green card. DHS data shows Q 2026 drop in green card holders detained for long absences. The key in 2026, prove intent to return if you must leave long. Term, carry tax transcripts, a US lease or property deed, and family ties proof. Those are your best defense. Third, people targeted for financial transparency and tax non-gen compliance. This hits close to your wallet. Let's talk about golden tax phase IV. China tax enforcement weapon. By 2026, it not just domestic. Zoom integrated with customs. Thanks to the Common Reporting Standard, CRS, for global financial data sharing. Cash and underground transfers that flew under the radar before, them red flags. I know old gen-timers still carry 10 yuan K gen 20 yuan K cash, thinking they won't get caught. People who move money via underground banks to buy property, it had hit, they say. 2026, that chin asking for trouble. A Chinese restaurant worker in the US claimed 10 yuan K annual income on his taxes, but his Chinese bank account got a Sangying alien RMB deposit. Customs flagged it during a random check. Golden tax IB links banks, safe, full real estate records, and customs. The officer saw his low US income versus unexplained Chinese deposits, suspected tax evasion and money laundering. He paid back taxes, fines, and now has travel restrictions. Another horror story. A cross-gen border e-gen commerce boss used an underground bank to transfer money for a Chinese home. The funds were tied to illegal activity. He was arrested by financial police right after landing. His house was seized, and he faced jail time. The US is cracking down to carry over 10 yuan K in cash, checks, or money orders without declaring it, and it gets seized. I saw someone lose 10 yuan K and get a visa denial later for non-chen declaration. A rule of thumb, use Dongui banks. Keep every receipt and tax document. Compliance is your only protection. In this age of financial transparency, the next three groups are everywhere. You might even be at risk without knowing it. Let this start with people with bad credit or civil disputes in China. You think deadbeats are just millionaires with big debts? Not in 2026, border control systems sync real-time time with court enforcement database. A small unpaid fine or ignored lawsuit can block your exit. I've seen cases. A guy had a Wumeyuan property dispute with a tenant, missed the court date while in the US, lost by default, and was barred from leaving China when he came back for vacation. Another person forgot to pay 200 in tax arrears when closing their business. Denied exit. Even unpaid traffic tickets or garbage sorting fines can trigger alerts. The worst part, they let you enter China easily. They want you to resolve the issue. When you're ready to fly back to the US for work or school, you're stuck. 2025秒 aware 20K Chinese detained for civil disputes. QE 2026小时 IT 8K already. A student missed his US semester because of a 1.5K credit card bill. He forgot. Do yourself a favor. Check your credit and legal status in China before traveling. Hire a lawyer if needed. It's cheaper than missing a flight or losing a job. Fifth, the most overlooked group. People who mess up with social media posts or electronic device content. 2026, Customs cares more about your digital footprint than the bacon in your suitcase. Both the US and China can ask you to unlock your phone, laptop without a warrant. Random checks are routine, and AI makes scrutiny brutal. The US proposed a rule in late 2026 expanding social media checks for visa gem free travelers, citing anti-ganterum, but it casts a wide net. AI scans your WeChat, Leohongshu, Weibo, Facebook, and X post, public or not. Student joked in a WeChat group about working under the table at a restaurant to pay bills. Kibi found it, cancelled his FE futisa, and deported him. Another person discussed fake marriage for a green card in messages, blacklisted from the US forever. Even innocent content gets flagged. One guy had saved articles about free US food banks and affordable childbirth. CB deemed him a public charge risk, held him for 2小时, and put his green card application on indefinite hold. Political posts are riskier. A Chinese national shared anti-Gen U's posts on Twitter, got detained for 12小时 orders, deported, and banned for sure years. China does the same, posts violating laws or harming national interest, trigger extra checks. By tip, digital spring cleaning before travel. Deleted questionable chats. Uninstall risky apps. Back up sensitive data to the cloud and remove it from your device. Even better, use a travel-friendly phone with just essential apps. Paranoia. Cheat your survival. 6. Visa abusers. Ever email students and HEB workers whose real lives don't match their visa status. US crackdowns on diploma mills and shell companies used to be occasional, out them daily, and they start at the airport for students. If your school is on the high-gen risk list or you're only doing online classes, expect tough questions. Officers will ask you to log into Canvas or Blackboard, show syllabi assignments and tuition receipts. They might even quiz you on your major. A CS student could explain a Python code snippet. Turns out he was attending classes, just working. His visa was cancelled and he was deported. IC data shows Q2026 visa revocations for academic fraud are up 50%. HEB holders. Remote work rules are strict now. If your company won an ASI but you live in Texas without updating SHASISI, you're in trouble. Officers check tax and social security records. An IT worker in California moved to Washington state to care for his parents, worked remotely, and did update his status. Branding home at Seattle Airport. CBP saw his key social security records and address, his hearted standard HEB was revoked. Rule: your life must match your visa, change schools, jobs, or addresses. Was is first, last but not least. People smuggling prohibited or grades and rare goods. This isn't just drugs or weapons. 2026 winner focus is high-end tech components, byproducts, and prescription drugs. U.S. Customs is ruthless with tech exports amid Sino-Gen use competition. The Commerce Department meat export control list keeps growing. Civilian gadgets like high-end AI bows, drone parts, and advanced cooling chips are now restricted. A Silicon Valley worker tried to bring SanGPUs to China without a license. He was detained, SCA goes seized, and he faced federal charges. up to 20 years in prison and 1,000,000 fines. He paid eBay million K in lawyers to get probation, but his green card was nearly revoked. China customs targets meat plants and unregistered by prulats. Smart sniffers and AI scanners detect banned biological components without opening luggage. One brought imported beauty injections. Seized, plus a million K fine. Prescription drugs are tricky too. Cough syrup with codeine, painkillers with ephedrine, no doctor note and excess quantity don't use drug smuggling. Traveler got Wu-days in detention for Arsha boxes of codeine cough syrup. Always check the latest prohibited lists. When in doubt, leave it at home. The most valuable part, your Arting travel survival guide. Write this down. For dual nationality, pick one. U.S. citizens apply for a Chinese visa legally. Canceling your hukou does not freeze your property. Get overseas Chinese certification to link assets to your U.S. passport. For green card holders, carry tax transcripts, a U.S. lease, property deed, and family ties proof. Your intent to return evidence kit. For devices, clean them thoroughly. Use a travel phone if needed. You end up in the small black room. Remember these send lines. To compensate P. I need a translator. Even if your English is good, it buys time and avoids miscommunication. You're right. Before my attorney arrives, I refuse to answer any substantive questions. Don't ramble or sign anything. To Chinese border officers, please show me the official legal document justifying this entry. Exit restriction, know your rights. Arting border rules aren't meant to stop travel. Gay about compliance. Follow the rules, stay transparent, and you'll be fine. We're not here to cause trouble, but we must know how to protect ourselves. I spent a week researching and verifying these stories to keep our community safe. Share this with your loved ones. Let it keep each other out of airport nightmares. A tough question. If you had to choose between canceling your Chinese hukou or giving up your U.S. green card, what would you do? Any success stories of balancing both? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear. And forget to like, subscribe, and hit notifications for more travel and expat tips. Stay safe and see you in the next video.